Also,
Let's
I'd go for yes.
yes, Levis, yes. Which one would be harder to implement, ESG or ISO?
Yeah, I think ESG would be harder to implement because I think it's broader, unlike ISO systems, which are quite direct and more of regulations like set in a certain way. I think ESG is quite broad in terms of its perspective, and that makes it quite hard to implement, especially like it has a lot of stakeholders involved in it. So I think it's kind of harder to implement compared to ISO systems.
Ah, okay. Rose, maybe you can have a go at it.
Um, Maybe the ESG is harder to implement based it involves a lot of stakeholders. Unlike ISO, we have maybe one stakeholder in an organization.
Okay, great. So, karibuni sana to the December Masterclass. And we're going to be looking at ESG. As you have all correctly said, ESG is quite broad. So today we are just going to do an introduction, and the flow of the masterclass will basically be understanding what is ESG, what does the E represent, what does the S represent, what does the G represent, and what are the components within the E, the S, and the G. And then we are also going to be looking at how it has evolved over the years from the 60s all the way to now and going forward. What are some of the changes? What are the impacts to the organization? And why the different changes through history. We'll also look at what is the significance to the different stakeholders. In ISO, we call them the interested parties. So the various stakeholders could be the investors, the organization itself, the consumers or customers, and even the employees or workers within the organization. Welcome, Eric. And
Thank you.
then we'll also now try and marry ISO to ESG. So how does ISO interact or support ESG framework adoption? And we will conclude the session by just understanding, or rather giving you the last punch in terms of how ESG can be used as a competitive edge in 2026 and going forward. So basically that's the flow of the class today. And today I will be supported by my two colleagues, Vivian and Yolanda. But just before we get into that, I just wanted to show you an analogy whereby we are looking at sustainability, we're looking at ESG and ISO, the ISO relationship. So look at it as sustainability being the broader goal or the destination that you want to get to. Imagine you're on a journey and you're heading to Mombasa or, wherever your destination could be. So sustainability is the broader long-term goal, which could be now, in our case, Mombasa. But now ESG is the structured framework, which you're going to look at the metrics and the measurements on how to get there. So in our analogy, we can look at it as your GPS system or your dashboard. So it shows you like how your fuel is. It's showing you the temperature of your engine and things like that. So it's giving you those indices or the metrics that are being measured as you get to your destination. And then ISO can be looked at as the car operating system, the engine, the brake system, the gears, because it gives you the processes and how they are interlinked and working together to support the vehicle to get you to your destination. So in a nutshell, we could say that sustainability is the why organizations want to be better or take care of the environment, take care of the people and the planet. And ESG can be described as giving us the what. So what are we measuring and what what indices are we looking at to get there? And ISO can give us the how. So it will give us the processes, the controls that we need to be able to get to our destination. So at this juncture, I will stop sharing and welcome Vivian to take over to give us the introductory bit. Thank you.
Okay, I welcome you all to our segment of introduction and the transition, just to understand how ESG has evolved to reach to where we are today. Welcome, my name is Vivian Wabwire. I'm an ESG expert, and I welcome you to our today's segment. I'll try by introducing the word ESG. ESG stands for Environment, Social, and Governance. ESG is a comprehensive framework. This framework is used by organizations to assess its risks and capitalize on opportunities. It's a framework that will help our organization to evaluate its pillars or its different areas more than the financial report can do. I will help dive deeper and understand what falls on each and every pillar. When we are talking about environment, what is that organization should put into consideration? We'll start off by organization looking at climate impacts and its commitment to net zero. Whatever that organization is involved in production, manufacturing, processing, what is its effect or impact on the climate? All the factors need to be considered at this aspect. And when we are talking about environment, we also consider energy efficiency use. Which are the sources of energy that they are using? And in which capacity or level is it being used? We have the issues of air and water pollution, the material that they are using in the production and processing. How is it being utilized at the end? Is it going into being like a byproduct of waste pollution and discharged into the environment? The air pollution being discharged into the atmosphere? Do they have this consideration, or what they are being involved in? Is it involved in air and water pollution? We have also the aspect of waste management. How is the waste being managed in the organization? Different kind of waste. We are talking about maybe hazardous waste. Do they have the segregation of different kind of waste? And are this waste effectively handled at the end of it all? The impact on biodiversity. When they are involved in their processes, is it mining? Is it extraction of minerals? Are they involved in protection of diversity at the end of their process or of their activities? Biodiversity has to be put into the place, the area we are operating, and the area that we are discharging of our wastes. Use of plastics in the company or organization. We are using the plastic. Are we evolving from the recyclable one? Have we taken over the new policy that is in place, or the organization is still using the old plastics that cannot be disposed or renewed and reused? We talk about the social pillar. We'll be looking at supply chain standards. When we look at supply chain as the product or an activities, services that are being handled in an organization, all the chains from the manufacturing to the consumer, all that chains, all the material, are they meeting the right standards? And then we have safety and health of the employees. in the environment. The environment has to be made secure. All the processes and the programs that are in place to ensure that environment is safe for the healthy and well-being of each and every person, stakeholders, employees in that work environment. Organization will also put in place the workers' rights. They will also consider local community impact, the impact that they have on the surrounding community, the community that maybe they are serving or they are benefiting from. They have to have that community impact, or what they are giving back, they are empowering, they are doing some projects to improve that area. Maybe they may be involved in water projects, electricity, or just empowering the community through different projects like agriculture. We have the human rights. Each and every human rights has to be respected, is the organization putting into consideration. When we come to governance pillar, we'll start off by corporate governance. We go to executive pays. How is it structured? Is it a very well structured process that can be followed to each and everyone in that organization? Board diversity. Have they put into consideration the diversity from the gender to people with disability to be incorporated in their board of management? And do they have like bylaws, or do they have the right set time for meeting, time for annual general meetings? What is the structure of their board of management? And then we have ethics and tax strategies of an organization. I think as we continue to look at these pillars, what I may request is just as we continue, just start to think about if we are in any organization working, or you have interacted with an organization, are all these things maybe being considered in that organization, or do they have plans they are working towards it? Because these pillars are the one that has to be considered as they forge towards writing or implementing their ESG reporting. I will continue. I'll just dive to go and understand how they have to handle each and every aspect of these pillars. When you are talking about environmental pillar, this will help companies to be a steward of nature. When we are talking about environment, they will have to consider their greenhouse gas emission, the strategies that they put in place to have carbon footprints and to reduce carbon emissions to go towards net zero. Do they have, or are they working towards having the calculation of carbon footprint, all the emissions that are being emitted, handled, and even working towards reducing? If they are using the energy sources that may be contributing a lot towards the carbon emission, are they planning to go into the new technology, renewable energy sources, and different technologies that can help cut down on the carbon emissions? We talk about pollution management, controlling waste and toxic byproducts. Organizations must be working towards waste management and toxic byproducts. Like when we are producing a product that contains chemicals, or its byproducts has to be treated before being discharged. All these waste have to be handled effectively. Do they have the right systems, the right structured programs to work towards having this waste controlled or managed? Natural resources, we are talking about efficiency use of water, energy, and raw material within our organization. We need to have the right technologies when we are using water to conserve our water. And maybe the byproduct of water, wastewater, can be treated. An organization can invest in a water treatment system that can help to recycle the water to be reused for different uses. We have energy efficiently used in organization, maybe going towards the renewable, or having the right innovations to curb on the use of energy, and raw materials that are being used in the company during maybe production or processes. to be used effectively for the right production of the company. We have climate risks, company preparing for extreme weather and regulatory changes. So many companies may be affected by the climate or extreme weather conditions. When we are talking like example of electricity production by KPLC. So most of the production, they use the geothermal energy sources. So they have to consider the issues of risk, climate risks, the issues of droughts. When we have extreme weather condition, we realize that the company will be affected with the droughts. So the electricity supply, maybe they may face shortages. That's why you find these companies investing in the issues of curbing climate risks, in the issues of conservation of environment, in the issues of dam and protection of dam from any effect that may occur in the future. When we talk about the social pillar, a company focuses on the relationships of its workforce and the society. Human capital. The company will focus on the fair wages of the employees engagement, and the benefits. Having the right system and structure in place that will work towards fair wages of the employee is the right system to put in place under the social pillar. We have the safety maintenance, vigorous health and safety standards in an organization. We have community philanthropy and local impact. An organization having what it is giving back to the society. We see most of the organization maybe giving back in form of the scholarship, like the Equity Bank. It gives back in form of the scholarship to highly performing pupils or students. We have the issues of conservation of environment, being involved maybe in tree planting, and so many that may impact our local communities. We have the supply chain, ensuring the ethical labor practices are upstream. As we continue, I will just request if we have any reaction that you may want to put into as we have gone through these two pillars. Any reaction that you have, maybe what you think should be considered under social that has not been considered, or under environment. Maybe in your organization, there's some aspects that are considered or they are being planned to be considered under these two pillars. You are just welcome to use our reaction. You can use the reactions or you can use the chat box just to suggest anything that you may have to be a contribution as we continue to go deeper and understand. We make our presentation to be engaging. I will finish with the issues of governance pillar. Governance pillar, this will provide the internal system, controls, practices, and procedures. Organization will have to be accountable, stipulate clear lines of responsibility of each and every role that they have in an organization. Who is holding on which role and what are their responsibilities? Transparency. In each and every process that is going on, they have to be transparent, what material are being used. This is where we come the issues of finances, transparency, and accountability. This is where we have the issues of records to be put where they can be audited. And then we have the compliance, adhering to laws and ethical standards. All the laws, like in Kenya, we have the MCA, we have the OSHA. All these are they being put into consideration. And then we have the stakeholder rights, ensuring fair treatment of all the stakeholders and partners that are on board for the cooperation and partnership in an organization. These have been the pillars that should be considered when we are doing our ESG reporting of our organization. And I will move next to evolution of ESG. We have been hearing about the ESG reporting. Now we just want to go and analyze how it came to be, how we came to be at this point of ESG. In 1960s and 1970s, this started as ethical investment era, where you see that some organization, based on their value system and what they stand for, they stopped partnering or being involved in some companies that are into production of substances that they consider harmful to health or to environment. That's how it started. Some value-based investing emergencies led to negative screening and avoiding companies that are involved like tobacco, alcohol, weapon. This raised the issue of ethic and religious investment. This put pressure to avoid harmful industries and created awareness, social responsibilities. And then it went on 1980s where we had environmental awakening. Due to environmental disasters helped to trigger this and to awaken the issues of environmental awareness in organizations. This led to coming up with the pollution regulations and the workplace safety to combat the issues of environmental disasters that they were occurring at that time. Led to adoption of environmental compliance. Some organizations started to comply to environment to help them to avert environmental disasters that were occurring and become more responsible production systems. In 1990s, sustainability started being the talk of global agendas. Sustainability entered mainstream policies. You see in 1992 at Rio Earth Janeiro Summit, they came up with a triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. Like an organization, when you are involved in any activity, offering production of products or services, you have to put into consideration not just the profit or economic gain, but you have to put in place the safety of people and the environment. So this led to company beginning issue voluntary sustainability reports, and sustainability enters strategy conversations. In early 2000s, formal ESG frameworks started being considered by the companies. ESG became structured and measurable. We had standards like GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, and UN Global Compact of 2000. The start of standardized ESG reporting was in early 2000. ESG used in investment screening. It started in 2000. In 2010 to 15, investors and regulators started demanding for transparency, for organizations to be transparent, to disclose their climate risks, to disclose their issue of gender equality and human rights. Like any organization that is not considering the issues of climate risks, like have the right programs, right system to combat the issues of climate risks that may come in the future. Investors started maybe not being part of it or invested in it, and organizations that may be discriminating towards gender and human rights. So this led to ESG linked to risks investment, companies setting aside climate and diversity commitments. In 2015, we saw Paris Agreement and SDG era. Global climate and development goals reshaped ESG, became part of the ESG. Paris Agreement of 2015. ESG, it became part of the national and global compliance, a strong focus on decarbonization, reducing the issues of carbon emissions. In 2018 to 2020, ESG goes mainstream. is used in corporate evaluations. It becomes mandatory to disclose your climate risks, begins in some regions, and rise of ESG rating and scores. Companies, industries start being rated according to their effort in the issues of considering ESG. Companies publish annual ESG reports, and ESG become part of the competitive branding. Like when your company is putting a lot of effort, evolving, putting on innovations that are helping to combat the issues of carbon emission, that are working towards the sustainability, your brands become more competitive and it earns more investors. We come to 2020, 2023, COVID-19 and social transformation. The social issues become so urgent and the employees' well-being become a very strong focus. Supply chain become very resilient. ESG tied to business continuity and resilience. When you are considering ESG in your organization in early 2020, 2023, it was considered that your business will have longevity and it will be resilient through maybe the storms and through so many challenges that may come through, like the COVID-19 that came when your company had a very strong consideration of ESG. It was considered that will be long lasting. In 2023 to 2026, next year, ESG has become mandatory. It has become just a strategic. You don't just carry out an ESG, but you carry out an strategic ESG. ESG become compliance driven and performance based. We go to international standards, national climate reporting issues. We go to net zero pathway. The ESG is integrated into financial reporting. When organizations are disclosing their financial report, maybe at the end of the year, annual general meetings, ESG is integrated, becomes part of it. Becomes part of compliance, risks, competitive, linked to ESG performance. This has been a journey considering the evolution of ESG from where it started to where we are and where we are going. Personally, I can see it has been a very, very interesting to organizations that have been considering since the start of its evolution and how organizations are putting in more efforts to go out and put up the right systems and structures to consider that, because it will give their organization a competitive edge. Here I have a transition of how ESG has been transiting over the years. We have few statistics that will have to prove how the transition has been going on since 2010 to the future of 2040. There is positive transition of ESG, how it is being accepted by organization and how it is being considered globally when your organization is forging towards consideration of ESG. ESG focused institutional investment soaring from 84% by 2026 and making up to 21.5% of assets under management. That is report of the organization, policies of NGOs, companies. When they met in 2025, that was their report that investment companies or institutions, it has risen, and in 2026, they will be at 84%. According to World Economic Forum, 1,600 global executives say 85% of executive plans move forward with sustainability disclosures. And 97 agree that strong sustainability reporting offers a competitive edge. And in 2025 industry survey by KPMG International, They found that many companies view ESG reporting not just as a compliance, but a strategy lever for trust, value, and market advantage. It gives 60% expect greater market share and client base, and companies that are involved in ESG reporting, 54%, they expect improved profitability, and 52% expect stronger reputation after ESG assurance and reporting procedure. All these statistics point toward the transition that ESG reporting and investing is having. Most companies report after involved in ESG reporting, they are having a greater effect on their client base, on their profitability, on their reputation, branding. And hence ESG is a framework that is gaining fame and gaining popularity within so many companies and industries. I will also help us understand, as we have gone through the pillars, we have gone through the transition. You may be asking yourself, so much has been said about the pillars, what to be involved in environmental, social, and governance, the transition. What is it that my organization will be gaining? Personally, as an investor, or to advise an investor, what will he be gaining? As a customer to these companies and industries, as we buy product from these different companies, what do we consider for us to be associated with different brands? And as an employee, which company and what should be the consideration as we desire to work in different companies and organizations? The importance to an organization, it enhances corporate reputation. It increases the reputation of an organization, and it makes the brand to be credible, to be transparent. It strengthens also the compliance and regulatory, because once you do the ESG reporting, so much will be required of you to put all the documentation, to consider all the compliance, the laws of the land. It will also improve enterprise risk management of an organization. The ESG reporting will help organizations to put into consideration the right measures, structure, programs, and system to be able to combat the risks. It will attract capital financing. We have talked about the investors considering which organization to invest into. Your organization having a very well framed out ESG will give it upper hand for investors to invest into. Drive operational excellency through efficiency gains, resource optimization, and waste reduction. The organization will have a right system to use the resources efficiently and to reduce waste or waste management practices. To an investor, it will provide visibility into a company's risks. When investor wants to invest in an organization, they will have to go through the ESG and identify which risks they will combat or which risk they will face as they want to invest their money into that company. It will signal long-term value creation, enable investors to select stable and resilient businesses. It will support for portfolio arrangement with responsible investment mandates into green financing if they want to be part of the organization that are involved into projects that are protecting the environment. I think going through the ESG of different companies, it will be a great platform for them to understand which organization that are involved in environment and which one they are still working on it. It will reduce finance risks by identifying companies likely to face regulatory penalties and reputational damage. Yes, it will help them to reduce their financial losses, their financial risks that they may invest in the wrong companies that maybe they are facing penalties. They have not complied with the laws. That will be a very good guide for the investors. And then the importance to client or customers. This demonstrates ethical sourcing, responsible production, and product safety. It helps a customer to source products that are safe, of right quality, and then build trust and confidence in brands. It helps customer to build trust in brands that are considering sustainability, brands that are protecting environment, brands that are producing safety and healthy products. And it will also influence customer behavior. To employees, it will strengthen workers' workplace health, safety, and well-being standards. Yes, standards in the workplaces will be improved. It will promote diversity, equity, inclusion. Yeah, with ESG on the social pillar, it will help that the organization consider the inclusion, diversity of the gender, and transparency in the matrices. It will increase employees' engagement. When the employees' well-being is put into consideration in an organization, their employees' productivity will increase, their engagement in an organization will increase. As I come to close of the first session of introduction, I'll just want to put into like your mind, we continue thinking about why should a company consider ESG? Like when a company asks us as experts in environment in ESG, why should I consider ESG? And I'm just maybe working on ISO standards. As we continue to the next session or segment, let that linger in our mind, the importance and the consideration that it is having on organization and companies. At this juncture, I will be welcoming Yolanda to take us to the next segment of our masterclass. Welcome, Yolanda, to take us to the next segment. Santeni.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well.
Hi.
Let me share my slides. As we share my slides, where do you think your organization is in terms of ESG? After my colleague has presented, where do you think you position yourself in terms of ESG as an organization or in any place where you've worked? How has ESG been adopted or integrated within the organization? You can answer either by chat box or just unmuting your mic. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, Yolanda.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
Eric
Okay.
or Rose
Yes.
can tell us.
Oh, my
Yeah, the
company,
question was
where I work, is that we are only 3 of us. So maybe the experience of interacting with this, the importance of I can say maybe we are looking when we're investing to our client, we look like maybe financial stability, which is also, yeah.
all right. Thank you for that. In terms of the country, do you think as Kenya, we have achieved the aspect of ESG, or we still way behind in achieving the ESG aspect? That is a question you can linger over, and then we can maybe answer later on. My name is Yolanda, climate change expert, and I'll take you through the role of ISO standards in achieving ESG goals, turning the what of ESG into the how. ESG provides or outlines more of the goals, objectives, or the expectations that an organization or company needs to achieve, while ISO provides it is more of a tool or mechanism of achieving the ESG within an organization. In this aspect, the ISO is a roadmap that leads us to ESG. ESG is the destination in this aspect. So, like my colleague stated, we have the environmental pillar, the social pillar, and the governance pillar. Then we are going to focus on ISO 14000 in environmental pillar and how it aligns with the ESG. The environmental pillar comprises of the greenhouse mitigation of the greenhouse gases. We have the pollution aspect, reducing or controlling the pollution. Then we have the natural resources and the climate risk. The ISO 14000, it's more of ISO 14000 is a practical framework that ensures the environmental management systems are attained or maintained within an organization and the impact is reduced on the environment. It has the identification of either the identification, monitoring, or controlling of impacts on the environment by using the PDCA cycle. From the previous classes, we've had the PDCA cycle where you identify a problem, plan or set goals on how to achieve it, then implement it at a small scale, check if whatever you've implemented worked, and if it works, you can implement it at a larger scale as a way of acting on it. In this aspect, we have organizations. Organizations demonstrates the ESG in terms of the ESG aspect. We have the E pillar where we have said it's more of reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, using resources efficiency, the energy resources, water consumption, as well as mitigating pollution. The ESG comes in whereby it gives the goals, what is expected of an organization to achieve it, at what point is pollution of waste considered harmful to the environment, and is this waste treated before being released into the environment. Using the PDCA cycle, an organization is able to achieve the environmental pillar by ensuring that there's an identification of the problem, monitors, as well as controlling it to ensure that there's reduced impact on the environment. Therefore, ensuring that organizations demonstrate strong environmental stewardship and continuous environmental performance improvement, that's supporting the ESG reporting areas. Because for the 14,000, there's recording or auditing of the energy usage, the recycle rates within an organization. We also have the pollution, we also have the consumption of resources such as water. In terms of, are you using clean environmental clean energy, such as wind energy? We have the solar energy. Is the organization using it to reduce the impact on the environment? The other aspect on environment is life cycle thinking, where we have the entire process of a product or of a product from when it is as a raw material to when when the consumer receives it. How is the process? Does it consider the aspect of reducing the waste into the environment? How is it considers from a raw material to the disposal. It addresses the waste reduction through the life cycle of a product, which ensures emission is reduced and tracking of pollution within an organization. There are so many waste in terms of those that can be disposed after there is no use. There are those that can be recycled, or there are those that can be reused. I had stated that ESG aspect is more of goals. It has the goals of greenhouse gas reduction, waste pollution, or waste control of pollution on the environment, or management of waste production, which in terms aligns in this aspect because there is the life cycle thinking that ensures there are no much disposal of waste into the environment. The other aspect is on stakeholder trust. This involves considering the stakeholders. We have the customers, the investors, the regulators, and even the company itself. How do an organization having implemented the ISO 14001 support all these stakeholders within within the organization, while at the same time reporting on environmental performance. It ensures that there is credibility and transparency in terms of reporting, which aligns with the ESG demands for accountability and transparency. For instance, an organization is dealing with a product uh, that maybe pollutes the environment. If anything, I wouldn't want to buy a product that pollutes the environment, knowing that there's significant impact on the environment, yet I go to buy that product. In any case, I wouldn't go for the product because I know it has an impact on the environment. But if the organization has that transparency to communicate with the stakeholders about the product, and that the product has no impact, has no impact on the environment, probably the people, the customers will engage and buy the product. On the social impact, we have the community participation in terms of if a company is being set up in an environment where there is community, the community have to embrace the company or the organization, because you can't just go set up an organization in a place yet these people have not uh, agreed on it. Either it is impacting on the environment, and then how is it benefiting them? ESG comes in whereby all these stakeholders are involved in decision making in terms of, have they really agreed to take part in this setup of the organization, and how is it that how will the community benefit? Will they take part in CSR activities such as maybe planting trees, or maybe taking part in aspects such as decision making, like when making decisions regarding how the organization affects the environment? Are these people involved? This makes them, if they're involved, there's the willingness or the ownership, like they own that, they take the project as theirs because they've been involved from the start to the end. So if anything, having the community involved within a project will be really interesting to ensuring that ESG aspects, the environmental aspects of ESG is achieved. For the ISO 45000, we have the social pillar. The social pillar mainly touches on diversity. We have the inclusion. We also have the employees. How are the employees at the workplace? Safety. How is their safety? The ISO 45000, it reduces the incidences of accidents within workplaces, which ESG ESG advocates for safety culture within the workplaces, which directly links with the social aspect in ESG. The ISO 45000, implementation of ISO 45000 in an organization ensures that there is proactive hazard prevention. Instead of having an hazard happen, then come up with the mitigations afterward, it is always good to have the measures before the incident happens, and get to engage the employees or the workers to know what they're expected to avoid these incidences within the workplaces. It also ensures that employees are engaged and they feel safe within the workplaces. Because I don't think I would want to work in an organization where I know, if anything, I might get an injury or I might die as a result of a faulty issue due to the organization not implementing the safety aspect of in the workplace. It also ensures the ISO aspect ensures that there is reduced accidents, claims, and operational disruptions. With all this, the ESG aspect comes in where the organization is able to safely work within, safely ensure that its employees, protecting the employees doesn't mean you protecting the organization itself alone. You're also protecting the community, because it's there's that larger aspect of the community who benefit from the organization. So if anything, the community will also be protected in terms of getting their services. The ISO 45000 ensures that the company has a better reputation in terms of operations, because the employees are able to work within the safe environment. It also focuses. It doesn't only focuses on the physical hazards. We have the mental well-being. the psychosocial risk with the current generations where we have the aspects of mental issues within the workplaces. It is necessary for an organization to implement the psychosocial aspect of the mental wellness within an organization to ensure that their employees are at a safer environment when working within the workplaces. Uh, we also have the safety culture and engagement. In the safety culture is where the organization or the company involves the employees in making decisions or in coming up with aspects of safety within the organization. The organizations have the reporting system on how an incident can be reported from when it happened, how it happened, and what may have caused. Like having that monitoring aspect within the organization. There's also the safety communication. The organization is able to communicate to its employees regarding safety measures within the organization. The aspect of training, whether employees are involved in training regarding safety aspects within the organization, or when employees are involved in decision making, like an aspect that they're able to air their decisions, what they think about safety within the organization. There's the safety rules and the procedures. It focuses on in this aspect, it connects with the ESG because ESG advocates for strong safety culture and high employee engagement uh, in the social dimension of the ESG. Companies build positive culture where everyone shares responsibility by involving employees in safety committees, feedback and decision. Yeah, like everyone, either at a high level, at a high rank or lower rank, everyone is involved in taking part of decision making, either by coming up with an idea or something that regards the safety culture. This is the final aspect on social compliance. We have the social pillar, which is fostering the social compliance and reputation. I don't think there's anyone who would want their company to be known in a bad way, like having a bad reputation that company X and X doesn't do this. Because for an investor, there's no way I'll invest in an organization that I know they don't they don't have they don't follow the regulations or the regulations for working within an organization. In this case, we have the OSHA within Kenya, the OSHA requirements that needs one for an organization to maybe operate. It has to have such license within the organization. So, yeah, and in this when ISO 45000, it involves the monitoring aspect. There's also the aspect of having to monitor how the incidences that have happened within an organization, the auditing, internal audits, all these records ensure that there is availability of information that ensures easy reporting in terms of ESG reports or sustainability reports, thus ensuring that there's reports on safety performance and certifications within an organization. And if anything, this would attract investors because you have such a great reputation in terms of achieving the needed aspects of ESG as well as ISO. Also, we have the ISO and the governance alignment. This is the last session, the last aspect on ISO and governance. How do you think ISO connects with the governance? Like for those who've been before, I think Eric was there for the class. How do you think the ISO aspect aligns with the governance in terms of maybe in your organization, if there's the aspect of implementation of ESG within your organization? Hi, Eric. Is Eric still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah. If anything, do you have anything that regards same to Lewis? Because I think he's been in the other classes. Sorry, I'm pinpointing you. It's because you're in the other classes.
Okay. Maybe with me, maybe I can say waste management.
Okay.
Mm.
Anyone else who wants to try?
Maybe I can chime in. I remember when we were discussing about ISO being very strict on legal compliance aspects. So now the legal compliance aspect now comes into join on this governance pillar, because the governance pillar is looking at the business ethics and the management of the company, if the laws are being looked into and if they are being complied towards. So that is one of the ways they interlap.
Okay, thank you, Gladys. So we have the ISO standards aligning with the governance. In this aspect, there is structured management and accountability. ISO standards are built on the PDCA cycle, where we have it requires clear documentation, internal audits, management reviews, and corrective actions. So this makes it like there is a way it ensures that ISO standards create a governance framework within the organization, supporting the transparency, ethical compliance, and risk management. The other thing is on the leadership of the top leadership and commitment of the leaders within an organization. This, with all this PDCA cycle, it requires great leadership for it to probably monitor how things have been within an organization. Therefore, with the top management, it demonstrates that there is the ESG, there is the monitoring of activities within an organization, ensuring that the governance aspect is achieved, because without great leadership, there's no way you're going to govern an organization or an institution to achieving the required needs within the required aspects in the organization. In terms of data-driven decision, ISO standards, all these processes require that there's monitoring of greenhouse gases, there's waste management, controlling of pollution, resource use, consumption, either how has it shifted from this month to the other? And if there's a shift, what has made it shift? What really affected the shift in terms of consumption in natural resource, such as water or energy. So with this monitoring and measurement of performance indicators, it ensures that decision making moves from evidence based to safety metrics, resource use consumption and waste data. With this, the ESG aspect comes in terms of reporting, because you're able to give out what has happened within an organization. Has there been regulations that have been maybe broken because such and such happened within an organization? For the continuous improvement, we have there's always a change. Like this year, something would happen within the ISO or ESG, because we're moving with time. There's also technology. Things are shifting from one thing to the other. So a trademark for ISO standards is the continuous improvement. Organizations that have implemented ISO standards are easily able to implement ESG, because ESG keeps changing according to the climate factors. We have the growth. There's something coming up within the ESG. For instance, in this, we have the ISO 45001 that is going to be rolled out in 2027. It has the climate resilience and climate risk and resilience. So that means if organizations had not implemented the aspect on climate, they have to now start implementing the climate resilience. There's also the technology aspect, because we're shifting. There's so much of technology shift from from all the years that have the past years. The other thing is on ISO, this ISO 14001. It also, the new version is going to be rolled out in 2026, and is going to also have the climate change aspect. So if organizations have not implemented or considered the aspect of climate change or climate risks, how are they coping with the climate change? What resilience, what would improve their resilience with the increasing impacts of climate change? How will they increase their resilience in terms of implementing these standards of ESG? What is ESG age in 2026? How will ESG look in 2026? These are the conclusions in terms of the 2026 age. Organizations that fully integrate ESG into their strategy will lead the transition to a more sustainable, compliant, and competitive business environment. From all the presentations, like from the presentation here, we can all see the importance of ESG in terms of the investor, the employee, the customer, and the organization itself. So if anything, it would be wise to implement the ESG aspect within an organization. There is also strengthening environmental performance, investing in employee well-being and community impact, as well as enhancing governance transparency. Companies will reduce operational risk, increase investor confidence, attract top talent, and secure market opportunities linked to global markets, global climate, and sustainability standards. With a nice reputation within an organization that ensures the ESG has been implemented and adopted, I don't think you would miss an investor who would want to invest within an organization. There's also the employee well-being. There's need to have that aspect too of ensuring the employees have a safe within the workplaces, either mentally or physically. And then finally, ESG will no longer be voluntary add-on. It will be a key driver of resilience, innovation, long-term profitability, giving forward-thinking organizations a decisive edge in the 2026 landscape. Right, that is what I had for today. Thank you for today. I'm sorry for taking your time in terms of, I have 12 minutes past your time. Sorry about that.
Great. Thank you, Yolanda and Vivian. I don't know if there's any question probably from the team or on the chat box. There is none. Are you able to see a poll I've just put in? So my question is prompted by what Rose has put in. What she said that in Kenya, she thinks only the multinational companies are the ones who are practicing ESG. So I've prompted a question from that. Why do you think the SMEs and the local made companies are not adopting ESG? Is it because of lack of understanding? Is it the complexity in adoption? Is it the high costs and the poor linkage to real profits? Is it a mindset or culture issue? Or is it that it's a buzzword overload and they're thinking, this is just a passing cloud? What do you think is contributing to local companies or SMEs not adopting ESG as much? I can see some responses coming in, the complexity on adoption and the high cost and poor linkage to profits. Any other person would like to chip in? I think complexity on adoption is taking lead. Great. So I think as we continue to demystify ESG and as it continues to grow, we'll be able to have more companies adopting ESG. Remember, as we said during the presentation, with the way things are moving, currently in Kenya, the publicly listed companies, it's a must that they do the reporting. So any company that is publicly listed, they have to do their annual ESG reporting. And probably with the way things are moving, we see that even those ones who are now adopting ISO standards, and even in future, probably it will be integrated into the legal aspect. So it's best that we start taking initiative step by step and slowly towards being able to adopt the issues of ESG. Maybe my other question would be, supposing you're already now using the ISO 45,000 or 14,000 and you've gotten your certifications, Yolanda, I think you can stop sharing. Does that mean that now you're excellent in ESG reporting? What do you guys think? If your company has gotten the ISO 14 or the 45,000 standard, certification, and they've been passing their audits and they've gotten the certification and they've done a recertification, do you think that that means the company is excellent in terms of ESG reporting? Yes or no? We're just at the
No,
close of the, who was answering? Sorry, we're just at the close of the session.
I am the one who answered. I don't think an organization having the ISO 45,000, 14,000 means that an organization has achieved the ESG aspect. It has not yet achieved because it is more on the ISO. It has not done the ESG aspect. Because if 14,000 focuses on the environmental, then we have the 45,001 focusing on the safety. There's still that aspect of linking them together. How is it supposed to ensure that there is this environmental, the social, and the governance pillar to ensure that all these three aspects are linked? And yeah, I think that is it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. So they may be leaning towards a specific place and not covering the entirety of, the ESG aspect. So it's just a starting point and a tool to be able to adopt the ESG. So it could be a starting point to enable companies to embrace the entirety of ESG. I think we are at the close. Probably one last question. What do you think is the difference between sustainability and ESG? As we come to a close, this time for the mini lab, we are not going to give you a case study in December, so you guys will take a holiday a bit. So just come expecting to have a little debate on matters ESG and sustainability. So you won't have a case study to go think about or do in groups, also because of the numbers. So when we meet on the 17th, we look at some of these key buzzwords, like what does net zero mean? What is greenwashing? How do we measure how can we tell if a company is at what level of the maturity curve? What are disclosures? What is decarbonizing? So we'll look at a few buzzwords and then we'll get into kind of a debate to see what the pros and the cons of ESG are. Is there anyone who'd like to answer the question verbally? What do you think the difference is between sustainability and ESG? Anyone from your own understanding as we come to the end of the session? Anyone who wants to speak? Levis, Eric, want to give it a try? What do you think is the difference between sustainability and ESG, or are they the same thing?
Um, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think, well, in short, like I could say, like sustainability, maybe it's the bigger or the wider goal that we eventually want to achieve, maybe in the long run. But when it comes to ESGs, it's maybe the short steps maybe we take well, in terms of maybe implementations, in terms of all what you've talked about, with the aim of achieving the long-term vision again, which turns out to be sustainability. So I think sustainability is where we want to get, and ESG is what assists us in getting there in the long run.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining the class. We will look at this better as we get into the mini lab session and be able to explain some of these buzzwords. And we hope that you will at least have gained the basic knowledge about ESG and sustainability within these 2 sessions. So thank you so much. Tuonaneni on the 17th at 7 p.m. Have a lovely week and weekend.
Okay. Goodbye. You too.
Good work, Vivian and Yolanda. Thank you so much for the work that you've done. Have a good night.
Okay, bye. Sometime.